Daw nakita nimo sa Facebook. We are already live stream and the students are watching already from all
Yeah.
over the country. Tagalog and English. English could be done, Sir Rodolfo Kapapangan. Please introduce yourself first, sir, before we start, so that they could also know you, sir. Do you have your camera, sir?
Yes, wait for a while long. I'm not that so clear. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my online review for this evening. I'll be talking on purposive communication and professional education. By the way, I am Mr. Rodolfo Kapangpangan Jr. I am an English teacher. At the same time, I am currently a school head of a certain integrated school in a municipality of the Bantayan under the division of Cebu province. So that is just a small introduction about myself. So thank you, Sir Axel, for inviting me tonight to share inputs for our aspiring professional teachers under the LCTC Tutorial and Review Center. I hope that we will be learning tonight for 3 hours for this session. Thank you so much. Shall we wait for the others to join us long before I begin?
Please continue, sir. We can also see the comments on the Facebook Live that we have in our group, private group.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again, good evening, everyone. Welcome to my online review for two uh, areas under the licensure examination for professional teachers. I'll be talking on purposive communication and some specific areas under professional education. So to make our discussion interactive, I would like to request our viewers and participants to please comment your answer from the given questions. I prepared 80 questions for us to answer, for us to review in some points that were being taught during your undergrad, and it is a refresher course for us in the September licensure examination for professional teachers. Okay, so I will begin now my discussion. First, there are 20 items for purposive communication. And again, for us to make this interactive, I will be reading your comments through our live streaming. And please comment your answers. Okay, let's start. Okay, so question number 1. The communication on which the communicator wants his or her receivers to pay attention to and understand, but not to change their behavior. Again, the communication on which the communicator wants his or her receivers to pay attention to and understand, but not to change their behavior. A, persuasive communication. B, argumentative communication. C, informative communication. Letter D, internal communication. What do you think is the answer for item number 1? We're talking on this communication where a certain sender of a message is able to give something the listeners are paying attention, but not to change their behavior. Some of you answer letter C. Letter C, the answer is correct. Letter C, it is informative communication. So when we talk about informative, the communicator is only giving up information for the listeners, for the receivers to digest and not to change their behavior. How, on the other hand, Persuasive communication is the purpose of this communication is to convince the listeners to believe on what being said by the communicator. And other discussions about the different communications will be done along with our succeeding items. For item number 1, the answer is informative communication. Right? You got it right. Number 2, this refers to the receptive channel of communication, which is realized by the sense of hearing. This refers to the receptive channel of communication, which is realized by the sense of hearing. A, oral, B, olfactory, C, gustatory, or D, tactile. So for item number 2, what do you think is the answer for a receptive channel for communication? Is it oral, olfactory, gustatory, or tactile? Your answer is letter A. Someone answered letter B. Letter A, letter A. So let's check the answer for item number 2. All right, it's letter A. You got it right. The answer is oral, which is sense of hearing. Olfactory, it refers to the sense of smell. Gustatory, it refers to the sense of taste. And tactile, it refers to the sense of touch. So when we use our sense of hearing, for example, someone is talking, and of course, our receptive channel for us to understand what is being sent. So of course, we're using our ears, that is sense of hearing, and that is oral. Okay, that is for item number 2. Try to know the difference between the different receptive channels. Among them are oral, olfactory, gustatory, and tactile. So you have to be familiar with those in order that you can determine the differences. Okay, number 3. The power of words, once spoken or written, can never be taken back. What principle of communication is observed? The power of words, once spoken or written, can never be taken back. What principle of communication is observed? So when we utter words to someone, when we say something, the words that we uttered can never be taken back. So what principle of communication is observed? A, communication is powerful. B, communication is an interpretative act. Letter C, communication is irreversible. Letter D, communication is contextual. When we uttered words, when we spoke words, and once it's spoken, it can never be taken back. So what is our answer for number 3? What are your answers? All right, some of you answer letter C. The answer is correct. Letter C, communication is irreversible. So when it's irreversible, cannot be taken back. Once spoken or written, that is why, as advice, we have to be careful on what we are speaking or talking to someone as much as possible. We cannot hurt other feelings through our words. Because words are like sword. Some words can be hurtful, so we have to be careful and mindful the words that we are speaking to someone so that we can never hurt that. Okay? So for item number 3, the answer is letter C. Communication is irreversible. Number 4. It says that communication is not always a remedy for all ills and difficulties. Sometimes it even leads to more misunderstandings and troubles. What do you think is this principle of communication? A, communication is irreversible. Letter B, communication is unavoidable. Letter C, communication is a process. Letter D, communication is not a panacea. What do you think is the answer for item number 4? When we have communication to someone, whether we have an argument to someone, we need to reconcile, but not all the time that there's a resolution. There might be instances that certain communication will lead to more misunderstandings and troubles. So we cannot guarantee that every time that we have a communication with someone, if we have a trouble, it really would lead to, shall we say, resolution. So the answer for number 4 is letter D. Communication is not a panacea. Okay. Again, from the previous items, we have known that communication is irreversible, meaning once spoken, it cannot be taken back. So for item number 4, not all of the thing that we undergo communication with someone or a group of people and we try to resolve a conflict, it does not guarantee that it will lead to resolution. Sometimes it even leads to more misunderstandings and troubles. So in this principle, communication is not a panacea. All right. Some of you got it right. Congratulations, everyone. Now let's proceed to item number 5. Number 5, what communication principle emphasizes the impossibility for people not to communicate? So from time to time, in our daily basis, we have been talking and we have been communicating from other people. So A, communication is irreversible. B, communication is unavoidable. Letter C, communication is a process. Letter D, communication is not a panacea. What do you think is the answer for item number 5? Correct. Number 5, letter B. Number 5, letter B. Number 5, letter B. Of course, the answer is letter B. Communication is unavoidable. From time to time, in our daily basis, we have been communicating to a certain people, to a certain person, and then a group of people, and then so it is very impossible for us not to communicate. So that principle adheres on that communication is unavoidable. Correct. Very good. Let's now proceed to item number 6. This type of public speaking is done to highlight important and voluminous information that cannot be solely delivered by memory. This is also done if the speaker is not around and has only been represented by another person. So what do you think is this type of public speaking? The choices are on-the-spot speech, B, read speech, C, oration, letter D, extemporaneous speech. So let me check your answers here. For number 6, you answered letter B, letter B. Okay. So for item number 6, when we talk about on-the-spot speech, that is synonymous to impromptu speech. When you say impromptu speech or on-the-spot speech, automatically you are going to answer the question given. And for read speech, that is reading a certain manuscript wherein you cannot really entirely deliver it by your memory. So the speaker is not around, has only been represented by another person, meaning that speaker will gonna read the speech being prepared to an audience. So not entirely that someone or that speaker will deliver it through his memory. That is we'll consider as a memorized speech, or that is an oration. When I say an oration, there is an orator who is being asked to prepare, to deliver a certain piece. It is being practiced for probably for a week, and then there will be a scheduled day to present it, and that is oration. For letter D, for extemporaneous speech, you're given a question, and then you're given a time to prepare. So that is read speech for item numbers 6. Let's now proceed to number 7. Which of the following does not belong in the group? A, oral. B, oral. C, microphone. Or letter D, tactile. Which of the following does not belong in the group? B, oral. B, oral. C, microphone. Or D, tactile. What is your answer for item number 7? Marie Angeline answered D, Genevieve letter C, J Tahalangit C, Marilyn C, Mary Jo C, Janine D. Okay, so for item number 7, this is very tricky because you might be confused of this item, but the answer is tactile. Why is it tactile does not belong to the group? Because when talk about oral and microphone, these pertain to speaking. Okay, so we're using the words of mouth when you do the oral, and of course microphone is the channel being used to speak. Okay, so it is about communication, verbal communication. So oral, and microphone, these are verbal communication. The word is the word of mouth, speaking. Tactile, remember tactile is the sense of touch. Correct? Jeremy, you got it right. Okay, let's now proceed to number 8. Number 8, these are graphic representations of proposed elements included in the communication process, which shows the relationship between elements. The choices are communication models, B, communication symbols, C, communication types, or D, communication charts. These are graphic representations of the proposed elements included in the communication process. There are elements of communication such as sender, message, receiver, feedback, and then if we're gonna design it, so what do we call this graphic representations for item number 8? Some of you answer letter A, some also answer letter D. Okay, so the answer for item number 8 is communication models. Okay, there are different models of communication, and these models will be taken in the succeeding items. So stay tuned so that you can be able to understand each model being made by some proponents under this communication subject. So for these graphic representations, the answer is communication models. These are communication models. Proceed to number 9. According to Eugene White, this is a communication model. What is the most important concept of his model? Eugene White is a proponent of communication, and he has this model of communication. And what is the important concept of Eugene White's communication model? The choices are the message delivered, the sender, the feedback, or the all of the above. So we're focusing here on the concept of the model of communication by Eugene White. So there are 4 choices. What is being the most important concept of his model? A, the message delivered. B, the sender. C, the feedback. Or D, all of the above. Remember, the question is, what is the most important concept of his model? Among the elements of model of communication and the reason why, what is the most important one? What is being emphasized under Eugene White's model of communication? So the answer is letter C, the feedback. So for this item number 9, here is the explanation. Eugene White's model recognizes feedback as a part of the communication process. He described the process as sequential and cyclical, following the 8 stages of oral communication. And these stages are thinking, symbolizing, expressing, transmitting, receiving, decoding, feedbacking, and monitoring. But among these stages of the Eugene White's model of communication, Eugene White emphasizes more on the importance of feedback. I go back. He emphasizes more on the concept of feedback, wherein feedback is the one being sent back by the receiver toward the sender. That is a cyclical process of communication from the sender down to the receiver. Okay, so this Eugene White model of communication follows a cyclical process, following also on the 8 stages of oral communication. Okay, so this is item number 9 that focuses on letter C, which is feedback. The proceed to item number 10. What happens to communication when the sender and the receiver apply different meanings to the same message? We have encountered this kind of situation where we have different interpretations of a certain question or a certain idea, and then the sender and the receiver might have different views. So what happened to that communication? A, there will be no communication. Letter B, the communication may succeed or fail. Letter C, there will be a misunderstanding that leads to breakups. Letter D, the communication might not exist. So for number 10, what do you think is the answer for this? If this is the scenario of that communication process. Some of you answered letter D, some of you answered also letter C, but we will see the answer. Okay, in this example, if we have different meanings to the same message, what do you think will happen? The answer is letter B. Wow, all right. No one got it right here from our participants. So it is very obvious that the answer letter B, because the communication may succeed or fail. Okay? Why? Because of the different meanings, different interpretations between the sender and the receiver. So it may succeed or it may fail. It depends on the agreement, or it depends on the flow of the communication, whether the sender and the receiver will lead to a resolution of their communication, whether they agree or disagree, or whether the communication really fails. So in this example, the communication will really lead to, it may succeed or fail. Okay. So for item number 10, that is letter B. Some of you answered letter C. There will be a misunderstanding that leads to breakups. This will happen probably on a relationship. Okay. Number 11. Chris encountered signal interruption while talking to Cassie on the phone. Does this mean that the message passes through? Again, Chris encountered signal interruption while talking to Cassie on the phone. It probably it might have a weather disturbance or whatever. So that this mean that the message passes through A, medium, B, channel, C, path, or D, society. For number 11, what do you think is here? Is this one? Chris encountered signal interruption while talking to Cassie on the phone. Does this mean that the message passes through A, through what? It passes through what? Medium, B, channel, C, path, or letter D, society. Where does our message pass through? The answer is, some of you answer letter B, some of you also answer letter C. Okay, so the answer is letter B. Correct. Majority of you got it right. So let's try to differentiate between medium and channel. We talk about medium, it is a means of verbal and non-verbal communication. So medium, what kind of communication? The medium that you use, is it verbal or non-verbal? But the means of transmission, transmitting the message from the sender to the receiver, and that is a channel. So in this example, phone here, the phone is being used as the channel in transmitting the message between the sender and the receiver. It's just that there is what we call a signal interruption or a noise that hinders Cassie and Chris to talk properly through a channel that is phone. So for item number 11, the correct answer is letter B, channel. Just remember that when you talk about medium, it's about verbal and non-verbal communication. There is a means of verbal or non-verbal, but we talk about channel, that is the means of transmission. How do you transmit the message coming from you to the receiver of that? So what kind of transmission material? So the answer is letter B. We proceed to number 12. A model of communication, which is also called a telephone model. Who is the proponent of this model of communication, where it is also called a telephone model? As we all know, when it's a telephone, the telephone itself is the channel of this one from the sender. The sender is the caller to the receiver, the one who's being called. So A, Eugene White's, B, Osgood Scrums, letter C, Shannon Weaver, letter D, Aristotle. What is the answer for item number 12? You answer letter A, you answer also letter C, A. So in this item, the answer is letter C. Morizu Beninsol Jelly. Yes, you answered it right. The answer is letter C. Okay, so for this item number 12, Shannon Weaver is also called a telephone model of communication. Okay, the model based on sender and the receiver. Here, sender plays the primary role and the receiver plays the secondary role, which is receive the information or the passive one. So in this item, as you can see on the illustration, that the sender is the information source, and then it will be transmitted, it will be encoded to the channel, and then it will be decoded by the receiver, and then the receiver will receive that, and then it will go to the feedback, and it goes on because the Shannon Weaver also, it is a cyclical process of communication. So this type of model communication is a telephone model by Shannon Weaver. Based on our previous item, Eugene White focuses on the feedback. Okay. Osgood, Osgood Scrum's model of communication. This model is a circular way of communication rather than a linear way. That is Osgood Scrum's. But for Aristotle is a linear way of communication. And you will know also later about this Aristotle's model of communication. But for item number 12, we focus on Shannon Weaver. Okay, it is also called telephone model. Next, item number 13. The real meaning of the message exists within the mind of the speaker. Only then, the listener tries to get the message as accurately as possible. What principle of communication is? The choices are: communication is powerful. B, communication is an interpretative act. Letter C, communication is irreversible. Letter D, communication is contextual. What do you think is the answer for number 13? So, the real meaning of the message exists within the mind of the speaker, of course. And then only then the listener tries to perceive what is being sent. The listener tries to understand the message as accurately as possible. So what do you think is the answer? What do you think is the kind of principle? When we try to understand and get the message being conveyed by someone, by the speaker, based on the message being conveyed to us. So when we try to get the message as accurately as possible. So what do you think is the answer for number 13? That number 13 is letter. Okay, some of you got it right. The answer is letter B. Communication is an interpretative act. When we say interpretative, we interpret. When we say interpret, we understand. We understand the message being conveyed, and we interpret it. We try to fit in our idea. We try to process the message being conveyed and try to get the accurate interpretation of the message being conveyed. So for item number 13, when we try to get the message of the communication process conveyed by the speaker to us, what is the real message behind such communication? And then that is the act of interpretation. So here, communication is an interpretative act. So that is number 13. Okay? So some of you got it right. So number 14, Maria has a presentation on Monday. She organizes the information by. The choices are using only one design and color scheme. Letter B, avoiding clutter using large font sizes and avoiding too much text. Letter C, knowing the purpose of the presentation, the audience, and gathering information. Letter D, listening the main points, having only one main idea per slide, present ideas in chronological order. So among the choices, how did Maria organize her presentation on Monday? So what is your answer for number 14? Please keep it going, everyone. Some of you answered letter D, some of you answered letter C, some of you answered letter C. So here, you might be stuck on the two the two choices, letter C and letter D. And then between the two choices, C and letter D, you're going to choose the correct one between the two. So for item number 14, the answer is letter D. Okay, so when we try to present something, our presentation, our lecture, our project, so we have to list main points, meaning what are the things to be discussed about. Okay, what are the things that need to be discussed? And of course, in order for you to be cohesive and coherent in your presentation, you have to make sure that you have only one main idea per slide. Okay, so that your listeners will not be confused because of the of the varied ideas that you presented. So make sure that your idea per slide is only one, and then the organization of your ideas must be in chronological order. So in order, so that your presentation is organized at the same time. Of course, you'll be understood by the audience, okay, that you are speaking to. Okay, so for item number 14, the answer is letter D. Okay, so let's now continue with our item number 15. You're thinking about a lot of problems and you cannot even talk well to your friends. What type of noise is observed? You are thinking about a lot of problems. You are preoccupied. You have a lot of things in your mind and you cannot even talk well to your friends because you are disturbed. What type of noise is observed? A, semantic. B, physical. C, psychological. Or D, physiological. So please keep going your comments, your answer of this item number 15. When we are preoccupied, when we have a lot of problems in mind, and because of that, we cannot even talk well to our friends because you are emotionally disturbed, you are mentally disturbed. So the answer is correct, letter C, psychological. But let's try to analyze per choice. Let's start with letter A, semantic. Semantic noise, it refers to misunderstandings about the meaning of words. So we have difficulty in deciphering the idea of the message being conveyed or the information being relayed to you if you have difficulty in determining the meaning of the words. Probably those words are difficult for you to understand, so it's really hard for you to understand, and there would be communication breakdown. So that is semantic. When it's a semantic, that is a linguistic word. It talks about the meaning of words. So the implication here, in order to avoid the semantic noise, someone must really speak in simple words for the sender and the receiver to understand each other. Okay, but for letter B, for the physical, it is about the environment noise and of course physical illness like headache, stomach ache, you have this hearing impairment, so that is under physical noise. So if you want to really control this physical noise as much as possible, our environment, when we talk, make sure that the environment you're in is not that noisy for us, that you're going to understand each other. Letter C, of course, when we talk about emotions, feelings, personal attitudes, assumptions, biases, this is visual psychological noise. For item number 15, if you're emotionally disturbed, meaning your mental aspect is not really good, so psychological noise, and it can really result to a communication breakdown. Letter D, physiological, it means concern with your ability to see and hear, your health, whether you are tired or hungry at the time of communication. So physiological needs. So of course, you cannot communicate well if you are hungry, if you are tired. So that's it. So those are communication breakdowns or our different kinds of communication noise. So remember this: semantic, physical, psychological, and physiological noise. For item number 15, when we talk about this one, the answer is psychological noise. So let me proceed to item number 16. Mr. Alvarez adjusts his message according to his audience in the occasion to achieve a particular effect. In what model has he based his speech? So assuming that Mr. Alvarez is a graduation speaker, and then of course, when talk about public speaking, so there is an audience and you're going to deliver your speech. So what model is being used or emphasized in this situation? A. Eugene White's, B. Osgood Scrams, D. Shannon Weaver, letter D. Aristotle's. What do you think is your answer for item number 16? Some of you answered letter B. Some of you answered letter B, letter D. So based on our previous discussions, Eugene White's focus on feedback, and then 8 stages of communication. Osgood Scrum's circular, not linear. It means process. Shannon Weaver is also telephone model, and sender and receiver, and there's a feedback, is also a process. So when we talk about Aristotle's, it is linear and it is more on like public speaking. So for this item number 16, the answer is letter D, Aristotle's. So when we talk about Aristotle's model of communication, usually it's more focused on public speaking. So when we talk about public speaking, you are delivering your speech to an audience, and it does not mean that your audience will respond to you. So because Aristotle's model of communication, it is a linear process of communication. So from the speaker, the speech that you delivered, or the occasion that is being done, that is sent to an audience who's listening to you while you're talking, and then the effect is either they're gonna like it or they're gonna be inspired of your message. It depends on their acceptance of your speech. So in this example, so this is in adherence to Aristotle's model of communication. So just to recap the different models of communication, Eugene White's focuses on feedback, Osgood Scrum circular, Shannon Weaver telephone, and Aristotle's is linear. Okay, public speaking. So for item number 16, in this situation, the answer is Aristotle's model of communication. Remember this, everyone. Okay. Next item, number 17. John Lee easily responded to the message sent by Rose on Facebook. The message in response to Rose's message is called A. Hagback, B. Reply, C. Feedback, or D. Tweet. Okay. John Lee easily responded to the message sent by Rose on Facebook. The message in response to Rose's message is called what? What do you think is the answer? A. Hug back, B. Reply, C. Feedback, or D. Tweet. Okay, your responses here, and some answered C, some also answered letter B. So, which do you think is the answer between letter B and letter C? What element of communication? It should focus on the element of communication. Element of communication. Majority of answer letter B, but the answer is letter C. Feedback. Feedback is an element of communication. Okay, so that feedback is coming from the receiver after decoding the message being sent to him or her, and that feedback will be delivered back to the receiver, and then it goes on and on because it is a cycle. Communication is a cycle. So from time to time, if through messenger, Facebook chat, and then cycle process of communication, it goes on, and then the message being sent is what we call feedback. Okay, so that is number 17. Let's now proceed to number 18. What speech is widely used by politicians, periodical editors, sales agents, and marketing strategists? A, argumentative speech. B, informative speech. C, persuasive speech. Letter D, explanation speech. If you are a politician or an editor or a sales agent or a marketing strategist, what kind of speech that you're going to make? Argumentative, informative, persuasive, or explanation speech? Please comment your answers for number 18. Correct. The answer is persuasive speech. When you say persuasive, your aim in this speech is to convince, to believe in you. Okay? Your purpose is convincing the audience or the reader or the listener to believe in you. If you're a politician running for a certain position in the government, make sure you know how to convince the voters to favor in you. Okay? And of course, if you're writing a certain, shall we say, piece or an article and you want to persuade that a certain place is a place to visit, so make sure you know how to use this persuasive speech. Sales agents, if you want to convince that you need to buy this one because of the products, the features of the products, and marketing strategies in order to, of course, to have good sales. So item number 18 is persuasive speech. You got it right. Letter C. Okay. Of course, got it. Encourage. Encouraging to believe in you that what you are saying is true. Okay. So that is persuasive speech. Number 19. Which speech tries to make the listeners believe that the speaker's ideas are better based on the reasons at hand? So there is a speaker, and then he or she shares ideas, and then his or her goal is letting you know that his or her ideas are better based on the reasons. A, argumentative speech. B, informative speech. C, persuasive speech. Or letter D, explanation speech. Okay, your answer is, okay, you got it right. 19 letter A. So in this item, it is, okay, argumentative speech. Of course, technically, if you want to argue because you have claims, make sure that you can also support it. No, because it would be it will be more reliable to believe in what you are saying if you can really have proof or evidence. Do you have reasons behind such arguments or claims or views? So therefore, when you try to make your listeners believe that your ideas are better, so that is argumentative speech. On the other hand, if we talk about informative speech, the speaker is just giving you information, salient information, facts, and of course, as what I said, is that not change behavior or attitude towards something. And persuasive speech, you're convincing, you're encouraging, okay? And of course, explanation speech is, of course, you are stating the reason behind. Okay, so this is item number 19. Number 20, last item for purposive communication. What speech is delivered through reading from a paper, script, or a teleprompter? Usually, we can see this one in a large audience, okay, or a pageant, or a talk show. No? A, memorized speech. B, impromptu speech. C, manuscript speech. Letter D, extemporaneous speech. What is your answer for item number 20? Letter C, letter C, letter C. Okay. All right. For item number 20, when there is a script or a teleprompter, that is a manuscript speech. You got it right, everyone? Okay. So that ends our 20 item test for purposive communication. To wrap up, it talks about the principles of communication, the different speeches, the models of communication, the elements of communication. And these are just some of the concepts that we need to understand when we answer purposive communication during our board exam. So remember that purposive communication is under general education and it is part of the, so we need to really study about purposive communication. I hope that the LCTC is giving you inputs about purposive communication. So allow me to proceed to professional education. Okay, for items number 21 to item 18. Okay, so under professional educations, there are sub-subjects that are being embedded. So there are items that under assessment of learning. Yes, assessment learning 1. So let's start number 21. The following are definitions of assessment. A, it refers to the collection of data to this or better understand an issue. Letter B, it measures where we are in relation to where we should be. Letter C, it is a process by which information is obtained relative to some known objective or goal. Letter D, it is the teacher's way of gathering information about what students have learned and they use them to make important decisions about students' grades, the content of future lessons, and the revision of the structure or content of a course. Or letter E, none of these. The following are definitions of assessment exam. Exam. Okay, the answer for number 21, some of you answer letter C, some of you answer letter D, letter C, letter B. Okay. Oh my God, A, B, C. There are 5 choices. Exact. Remember exact, meaning not a definition of assessment. The answer is No one got it right. Oh my God. The answer is letter E. Someone got it right. And two, origin lignamus. Yes. So let's try to analyze each choice of the definition of assessment. The four letter A, B, C, and D letters A, B, C, D, these are definitions of assessment. And the answer letter D because all of these are definitions. Letter A, assessment, it refers to the collection of data to describe or better understand an issue. We have, as teachers, we have been doing assessment. We collect data, whether to know if the learners have learned something from our discussion or to better understand an issue. That is why we give tests or assessment. Letter B, it measures where we are in relation to where we should be. Meaning, in this definition, through assessment, we have known our status of learning, the status of learning of our learners, where they are now, and to where we should be. Letter C, it is a process by which information is obtained relative to some known objectives or goal. Of course, before we give our assessment, make sure that you have goals or objectives that should be known. And then from that, you're going to obtain data, okay, in order to actualize the objectives or goal. And letter D, assessment, it is a teacher's way of gathering information, of course, about what students have learned. That is why we have summative tests, summative assessment, formative assessment, diagnostic tests. And those data that will be gathered out of those assessments, those will be used to make important decisions about students' grades. What corresponding grades you would like to give based on the assessment that you use, the assessment tool that you use. Of course, through assessment, you're going to assess the content of your future lessons. So in making your lesson plan, and then there are tests, assessment tools being used by the teacher, and then there are results gathered. The basis for improving your lessons are the assessment. Okay, whether there will be enrichment of the lesson for that, or enhancement, or you're going to reteach the lesson because your students, majority of them got low scores. Okay, and of course the revision of the structure or content of a course. So all of these are definitions of assessment. So when we collect data, and try to know the status, the level of the status of learning of our learners from our discussion, and that is assessment. Okay. So I would like to proceed to item 22. It refers to the process by which the attributes or dimensions of some physical object are determined. It is a process of measuring the individual's intelligence, personality, attitudes, and values, achievement, and anything that can be expressed quantitatively. Take note, in our question, it focuses on quantitatively. It answers the questions, how much? A, assessment. B, evaluation. C, measurement. Or letter D, tests. What is your answer for item 22? Teachers have been doing this one. Teachers have been using this one. So for item 22, the answer is letter C, measurement. Okay? Assessment is a process of gathering data. Okay? But measurement is giving figure or numbers. That is why we have 91, 92. So when we express that into numbers, into figures, in a quantitative manner, and that is already measurement. Diba? When we measure, it is in number, it's expressed in number. So under assessment of learning, measurement is giving of figure. It answered the question how much. That is why in the report card of our learners under different learning areas, that is why we give 95 for English, 96. So those numbers there in the report card, those are the measured value from the assessment that you use. Okay? So 22 is measurement. Good. Remember, assessment is the process of collecting data in order to know what students have learned from your discussion. It is assessment, the process of collecting data. And once we have already the data, we're going to express the data into number. That's why when we check the test papers, when we check essays, we put scores. Those scores are under measurement. Okay? So, letter C. 23. It refers to the process of determining the extent to which instructional objectives are attained. It refers to the comparison of data to standard for purpose of judging worth or quality. A, assessment, B, evaluation, C, measurement, or D, tests. What do you think is the answer for number 23? Some of you answer letter A, letter B, letter B. Okay, now I would like to recap. Assessment is a process of collecting data to know what students have learned. Assessment could be informative, summative, diagnostic. The process. And giving of scores or numbers okay, it is measurement. But when we try to judge the quality of the work of our learners, and then we are doing evaluation. The evaluation is a description, whether it's outstanding, very satisfactory, satisfactory, fair, or poor. That is why in Form 9 of our report cards of our learners, below the figure, the numerical value of each learning area, below there are range, whether the final grade of our learner belongs to outstanding, very satisfactory, satisfactory, fair, fair, and poor. Those descriptions are under evaluation because we judge the worth or the quality of the work of our learners. Okay, and of course, when we evaluate, we try to also to judge whether the results, whether we're going to reteach, we're going to enrich, or we're going to enhance our lessons. So the basis for enhancing, the basis for enriching are coming from the scores and of course your evaluation. Okay, so that is an item number 23. 24. It is an instrument designed to measure any quality, ability, skill, or knowledge. Okay, what is that? Assessment, evaluation, measurement, or tests. An instrument, a tool designed to measure any quality, ability, skill, or knowledge. Okay. 24. Keep going, everyone. 24, letter D, letter A, letter D. So the answer for item 24 is correct. Majority of you got it right. It is a test. A test is a tool, an instrument na ginagamit natin in order to measure the quality of the work of our learners, ability based on the performance standard, the skill or knowledge based on either a paper pen test. And there are different types of tests that we'll be talking later on onto the succeeding items. So the instrument, assessment is the process. That assessment is using instrument, the test. And out of test, we get numerical, and that is measurement. And out of that numerical, we try to evaluate on what particular range do our students belong. Okay? So 24 is tests. 25. It is a method used to measure the level of performance or achievement of the learner. It refers to the administration, scoring, and interpretation of an instrument designed to elicit information about performance in a sample of a particular area of behavior. A, evaluating. B, assessing. C, testing. Or D, measuring. What is your answer for item number 25? It is a method of used to measure the level of performance. It refers to the administration, scoring. Scoring. So the answer for number 25, you answer letter D, letter A, letter B, letter B. All right, it is testing. Okay. It is a method used to measure the level of performance or achievement of the learner. Okay. It refers to the administration, scoring, interpretation. So testing is the overall idea of assessment, measurement, and evaluation. Okay? Testing is the overall idea when we assess and measurement and evaluation. So testing. Through testing, we score, we interpret, and the interpretation is evaluation, scoring is measurement, administration is assessment. In totality, that method is testing. Okay, so that is item number 25. 26. What is the role of assessment? A, product-oriented. B, process-oriented. C, teacher-oriented. Letter D, none of this. What is the answer for number 26? What is the role of assessment? You answered letter D, none of this. Really? Is it A? Is it letter A? Is letter C? The answer is process-oriented. The role of assessment is a process-oriented. Okay? Why? Here is the explanation. Okay. I'll be letting you see a comparison between assessment and evaluation. Okay. So between assessment and evaluation on the content, it's formative ongoing to or improving learning, formative assessment, and evaluation is summative because we're going to know the mastery. The orientation is process oriented, but for evaluation, that is product oriented. Process oriented because how learning is going. Evaluation is product oriented, what's been learned. Okay, so going back, so in this item number 26, when we assess, of course, it is a process of determining the status of our learners, their status of learning. Okay, so and there are different assessment tests that are being used to know the status of our learners. And yes, and then we need to use tests as tools in assessing our learners. So for item number 26, that is letter B, process oriented. Number 27, it identifies areas for improvement. Okay, what test or what assessment that is being used in order that you're going to determine areas for improvement. It is usually being conducted before a certain topic or a certain unit. Keep going, everyone. You answer letter C, so you got it right. So when we talk about diagnostic tests, when we diagnose, of course, we will be knowing what students have learned, the prior knowledge of our learners, what particular area that those are the strengths of our learners, and what particular area those are the weaknesses. And if we identify that those areas are weaknesses of our learners, and then of course based on that test, we should know how to improve them. Okay, so that is diagnostic tests. It identifies areas for improvement. Proceed to item number. Here is the table that I let you view a while ago, and try to differentiate between assessment and evaluation. So here, assessment is process oriented, evaluation is product oriented. Assessment, diagnostic, identify areas for improvement, whereas evaluation, judgmental, arrive at an overall grade or score. So this is comparison between assessment and evaluation. Okay, item number 28. Teacher is using paper and pen tasks during his assessment phase. What mode of assessment is done? A, traditional, B, performance, C, authentic, or D, project-based? If paper and pen tests, what mode of assessment is done? Keep going your comments. I saw letter A, traditional. The answer is correct, traditional assessment. So the usual and the common mode of assessment that is being used by teachers even up to this moment is traditional. Of course, it can like for example, periodical tests, daily quizzes, okay, multiple choices, essays, matching types, true or false, paper and pen tests. So still, this mode of assessment has been used by teachers until this time. Okay, so paper pen is under traditional mode of assessment. Okay. 29. Mr. Cruz wants his learner to perform a behavior to be measured in a real world context. What mode of assessment is done? Mr. Kurz wants his learner to perform a behavior to be measured in a real-world context. What mode of assessment is done? A, traditional. B, performance. C, authentic. D, project-based. Okay, there, answer letter C, letter B, letter C, letter B. So item number 29, the answer is performance. Okay. In our learning competencies, there are content standard. We have also performance standard. And under performance standard, we should able to make our learners apply in the real setting, in the real world, what they have learned. It could be in a role playing, it can be in a dramatization, something that the motor skills or the skills and talents of our learners will be developed. So that is performance based. Okay. So in this assessment, ideally, this is better than paper pen because we holistically develop the learners on a course, on a particular skill in a particular learning area. So make sure that teachers, we should not use all the time the paper pen. We should majority of our assessment must focus on performance based in order really to know the level of our learners, of course, the application of the learning they have learned from the discussion that you have done. So 29 is performance. Number 30, mode of assessment that requires actual demonstration of skills or creation of products of learning. A mode of assessment that requires actual demonstration of skills or creation of products of learning. What do you think is number 30? The answer is still performance. Okay. Actual demonstration of skills or creation of products of learning. Performance is a broad mode of assessment, and under performance, we can still simplify. Okay. So, but the umbrella of this mode of assessment is really performance. Okay. And under performance, we can have also here portfolio making, project based, still under performance. But the umbrella of this mode of assessment, when we require our learners for actual demonstration of skills, recreation of products of learning in general, that is performance standard. So we'll let our students perform actual demonstration of skills, recreation of products. Portfolio is collection of outputs. Okay. Again, portfolio is collection of outputs. Authentic is under performance, where you're going to ask your students to do something which can be done outside classroom. For example, interview outside. Project-based as well. When you say project-based, of course, it's very commonly done by teachers giving up projects. Item number 31, a process of gathering multiple indicators of students' progress to support course goals in dynamic, ongoing, and collaborative processes. A process of gathering multiple indicators of students' progress to support course goals in dynamic, ongoing, and collaborative processes. Portfolio, performance, authentic, project-based. The answer for 31 is portfolio. Okay. So, as what I said, portfolio is collection of outputs, collection of products done by our learners, and based on those collection of outputs, we're going to track students' progress. Okay, so tracking students' progress is through portfolio. Correct, portfolio. Okay, some of you, majority of you got it right. Item number 31 is portfolio. 32. Teacher Hazel is doing oral recitation to monitor learning progress of students during class discussion. What mode of assessment is done? A, diagnostic, B, formative, C, summative, letter D, placement. Oral recitation to monitor learning progress of students during class discussion. What mode of assessment is done? Number 32. Always remember that assessment is not only written, it can also be done orally. Correct, correct, correct. So item number 32 is formative assessment. Formative assessment is during learning, from your discussion, from after you present your topic, and then you're gonna ask questions whether based on the lesson, based on the activity presented, you're gonna ask questions in order to test the retention or the learning of our learners. So if during the learning, that is formative assessment. Correct. 33. It answers the questions, how well did we do, and how well did we do what we set out to do? A, diagnostic, B, formative, C, summative, or D, placement. Item number 33. It answered the questions, how well did we do what we set out to do? Diagnostic, formative, summative, or D, placement? The answer is summative assessment. Summative assessment is after a unit or a chapter, and then you're going to make a test question, usually quarterly assessment. So in in-depth ed, we have three components in the class record: written assessment, written test, performance, and quarterly assessment. Okay, so summative test is how well our learners in their learning in a particular unit, and we are aiming to know if there is mastery. Okay, so that is summative. Number 34. Teacher Anna is planning to utilize objective kind of tests. Which of the following can she use? There are 4 here. 1, multiple choice. 2, true or false. C, fill in the blank. Or 4, essay. A, 1 only. B, 1 to 3. C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or D, 4 only. Remember, objective type of tests. Item 34. Which do you think is the answer for item 34? The answer is letter B. 34 is the letter B. Why? Multiple choices, true or false, and fill in the blank. These are objective kind of tests because there are choices Okay, there are the answers are not based on opinions or feelings or ideas of a certain student. Okay, because essay, of course, when we talk about essay, it is subjective because you are going to say something about a topic or a question, whereas multiple choices, true or false, and fill in the blank, they are given choices. So objectively done. Okay, so objective test, there are three here. Essay is under subjective type of test. Here are the objective tests. Requires students to select correct response from several alternatives or to supply a word or short phrase to answer a question or complete a statement. The following objective tests are true or false, fill in the blank, matching type, and multiple choice questions. The word objective refers to the scoring and indicates that there's only one correct answer. That makes it objective. Objective tests really heavily on your skill to read quickly and to reason out the answer. And it measures both your ability to remember facts and figures and your understanding of course materials. And it prepares, it has S, it prepares yourself for high level critical reasoning and making fine discriminations to determine the best answer. So there are choices, they're all alternatives, and you're going to choose from them the best or the most appropriate answer. For item number 35, Teacher John has been using multiple choice items during his assessment. What are the advantages of using such tests? Exact. So what are the advantages of using multiple choice items? Okay, exact what? A, it is highly reliable test scores. Letter B, scoring efficiency and accuracy. Letter C, it reduces guessing factor when compared to true false items. Letter D, it can provide fixed assessment in measuring all levels of cognitive ability. So, okay. So item number 35, it's letter D. It's not the advantage of multiple choice. When we use multiple choice, it's very reliable. Like for example, in this session, we're using multiple choice. In different board exams, multiple choices as well. Scoring efficiency and accuracy, of course. It reduces guessing factor because there are choices. What makes it wrong for letter D? Because fixed assessment. No. Here. So multiple choices items can provide versatility in measuring all levels of cognitive ability. That is why the word fix here in letter D, that makes it wrong. Item number 35, letter D of the word fix. Okay. So, because multiple choices items can provide versatility in measuring all levels of cognitive ability, in HOTS or in LOTS. It is highly reliable test scores, core accuracy, objective measurement of student achievement or ability. Multiple choice items can provide a wide sampling of content or objectives. It reduces guessing factor when compared to true or false items because when see true or false, only two choices. It gives different response alternatives which can provide diagnostic feedback. So these are the advantages of using multiple choice items. Proceed to 36. Teacher Anna wants to use matching type in her paper pen test. Which column is where she writes the responses? A, column A, or B, column B? What is your answer? Item 36. Keep going your answers. Which column is where she writes the responses? Okay, the answer for item 36 is column B, and this is the structure. Okay. All right. So matching type items. So there are two premises. There are two columns rather, column A and column B. As you can see in the slide, column A, this is where the premises should be placed. Okay, for example, for person who performs mysterious tasks no one understands. And the responses that describe that premise in column A, the responses must be placed in column B. This should not be interchanged. Take note, this should not be interchanged. This is commonly mistaken by some test makers that the responses should be placed in column A, and the premises, sorry, I will go back to item. Okay. I'll go back here. Here, okay. I will continue on matching types. The premises should be placed in column A. The responses should be placed in column B, meaning the two should not be interchanged. There are instances that teachers made a mistake, in making matching type items. Some of them place the responses in column A and the premises in column B. It should not be done. Okay. The definition, for example, if you have definition and a word which is being defined, the definition must be placed in column A and the word being defined should be placed in column B. Okay. So that is principle in making matching type. Proceed to item 37. Teacher Sarah wants to test the critical thinking of her students through giving of personal views regarding a topic. What type of test is best suited for this situation? If you want to develop the critical thinking of her students through giving of personal views, what type of test is best suited for this situation? What is your answer for item 37? Please comment your answer. For item 37, letter B, of course, the answer is essay. So when we want that the skill of critical thinking will be developed, there is a question or a situation, and we want that we can ask our learners about their views, about their perspectives, and they're going to explain it, and that is essay. Okay, so essay. Item 38. It is known as alternative or authentic assessment is designed to assess the ability of a student to perform correctly in a simulated situation. Example, a situation in which the student will be ultimately expected to apply his or her learning. What is that? A, essay, B, project-based, C, performance-based, or D, objective tests. So item 38, in which the situation here, the learner will be able to apply what is his or her learning in through what? The answer is performance. Correct. Performance. In general, performance. Item 39. The following are purposes of testing. The following are purposes of testing. 1, to identify what students have learned. 2, to identify student strengths and weaknesses. 3, to provide a way to measure a teacher and or school's effectiveness. Or D, to provide a basis for entry into an internship program or college. A, 1 and 2, B, 1 to 3, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, or D, none of this. Okay. 39, there are answers which are correct. There are responses which are correct. C, letter B. But for item 39, the answer is letter C. Why? All of these are purposes of testing. Why? We test because we want to know what students have learned, their status of learning, how far they are. And number 2, of course, through testing, diagnostic tests, for example, we identify their strengths and weaknesses. And of course, we also, through testing, we also to provide a way to measure a teacher on the efficiency and effectiveness of a teacher toward her discussion, toward her lesson. And that teacher will evaluate himself or herself in order to improve that teaching and learning process. And of course, school's effectiveness. And of course, if we want to undergo internship or a program, or I'll go back. Okay, or a college entrance. So of course, a test is really there. So for item 39, all of these are purposes of testing. Okay, let me continue to item number 14. Assessment of learning. There are 3. We have assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. So our focus here tonight is assessment of learning. A, formative. B, summative. C, students' reflection of their learning. Or D, all of this. What do you think is assessment of learning? All right, please share your answers on our comment section. You answer letter B, you answer letter D. Not all of this. Is it all of this? The answer is summative. Letter B. There are participants who answered, right? Okay, so let's try to differentiate. So formative assessment is of learning. Formative assessment is for learning. Students' reflection of their learning is assessment as learning. Do not forget this one, everyone. Assessment of learning is summative. When I say summative assessment, we are measuring, we're evaluating, we're assessing the mastery level of our learners in a particular unit or chapter. Assessment for learning is during learning, during the discussion. It can be done in written or in oral form. That is formative assessment for learning. And assessment as learning is students' reflection of their learning. The students will be able to know their level, their status, their awareness, their cognitive ability. Assessment as learning. Okay, students' reflection. So let's now proceed to we are done with assessment. So we'll now proceed to some topics for professional education. 41, Mr. Cruz was very much worried about the thumb sucking of his son. A friend of him says that certain is among infants. Who presented that notion that certain behavior like thumb sucking is a normal behavior? A. Erickson, B. Bandura, C. Freud, or D. Pavlov? Keep going, everyone. Your answer for number 41. Marilyn answered C, Maria C, Janine C, Jove A, Marijo C, Shelamar C, Jenicar C. The answer for 41 is letter C, Simon Freud. All right, majority of you got it right. Okay, so Eric Erickson, letter A, Eric Erickson is a proponent of psychosocial development theory, and there are stages of such theory. Albert Bandura, social learning theory, wherein it focuses on modeling, demonstration. And of course, our answer for 41 is Freud, psychosexual theory. And letter D, Pavlov, is classical conditioning stimulus response. So for discussion on the psychosexual theory, I have here an illustration on Freud's psychosexual stages of development. So based on his theory, there are stages of development of psychosexual by Simon Freud. First is oral stage, wherein there the sucking, the swallowing. That is why if you have noticed our bata, okay, yung mga bata natin at their early age, so they are fond of sucking, swallowing. That is why as parents, we have to make sure that the environment is safe for them so that they cannot suck and swallow things which are harmful to them. So we have to make sure the environment is okay for them. The anal stage or the anal stage, of course, the anus withholding or expelling feces. Sorry for that slide. I'll go back with Freud's. Phallic stage, the penis or clitoris masturbation, it depends on stages, development of Sigmund Freud, the latent and genital. So, but we focus on the oral, the mouth sucking. Okay. 42, which of the following is likely to be developed if infants are shown genuine affection? If the child or the infant is, he or she has the feeling of being loved, genuine affection from a mother or a father, which of the following is likely to be developed? A, trust, B, autonomy, C, initiative, or D, guilt. This is under the psychosocial development of Eric Erickson. What is the first stage? The answer is, okay, you answer here, letter A, letter A, letter A. The answer for 42 is correct. Trusts. Now, it's very important that our infants at their our children at the early age, they must feel that we have genuine affection to them, so that they have this sense of trust to themselves, so that they will not be fixated as they go with the next stages of their development. So fixation happens if there's a crisis between, in every stage for psychosocial of Eric Erickson. So I have here a summary of psychosocial stages, a summary chart by Eric Erickson. So infancy, that is from birth to 18 months, the conflict here is trust versus mistrust. So important events is feeding. Okay. So the outcome here, or the virtue being emphasized, is the virtue of hope. Okay. So we have to make sure that we show genuine affection so that our infants could have trusts on themselves. And that in the next stage is early childhood, 2 to 3 years. We have here autonomy versus shame and doubt. And if the bata, if the learner, if the child has trusts of himself or herself, he or she is able to, sorry, sorry, I have to go back. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, I'll continue. Toilet training and wheel. For preschool, 3 to 5 years, initiative versus guilt. So if our children are able to do toilet training by themselves, okay? So at this preschool level, 3 to 5 years, that is initiative versus guilt, there is the moment of exploration, okay? So our children are able to initiate things, and if not, if there is fixation, there is guilt. And if the learners are able to explore and discover, if our children are able to explore and discover something at 6 to 11 years old, of course they are already in school, they are now able to be under industry versus inferiority. And if that learner are not fixated, that children or that learners are being industrious, and the outcome of the virtue is confident. So meaning industrious, the learners can be able to do something. No, he is not shy. The learners are not shy. Are the learners also are not inferior, okay? Because the learners have confidence. The learners have trust that they can do such activities in school. And if they are industrious in school in adolescence level from 12 to 18 years, that is identity versus role confusion. So the important events in this stage is social relationships, fidelity. So if there is no fixation happens, meaning our learners can be able to identify the roles in life or even in school, and there will be no role confusion. And in their young adulthood from 19 to 40 years, and if there is no fixation, intimacy versus isolation, building of relationships, the outcome is love. No, he or she knows her identity, his identity, her roles in life, in the world, where he wants to be, her wants, her needs, and intimacy, intimate. There will be a good relationships, better relationships between and among friends, family, and there will be no feeling of isolation. And if that will be the case, and when that stage goes up into the middle adulthood from 40 to 65 years old, generativity versus stagnation, work and parenthood. So someone will be able to be productive, in his work, able to generate income. And if not, if he's fixated, then stagnant, or there's stagnation. And maturity from 65 to death, this ego integrity versus despair, reflection on life and wisdom. Of course, at this age, if it's fixated and then despair, and then has fear about death, whatever, and if not, and then happy disposition in life until death. So these are the psychosocial stages of Erik Erikson. So to wrap up about the psychosocial, we have to make sure that there is no fixation, there is no crisis in every stage, so that there will be a good outcome in every stage of psychosocial according to Erik Erikson. Okay, so allow me to proceed to item 43. The theme of Vygotsky's social-cultural theory emphasizes the role of appropriate assistance given by the teacher to accomplish a task. Such help enables the child to move from the zone of actual development, that is development is not development, I'm sorry, I forgot to correct it, to a zone of proximal development. Such assistance is termed as A, competency technique, B, scaffolding, C, active participation, or D, collaboration. All right, you got it right, everyone. When we talk about Vygotsky's social cultural theory, teachers are giving of assistance to our learners in accomplishing the task. We're facilitating the task, and that is scaffolding. We are not leaving them behind. We are there, we are guiding them. No, there is guidance. There is zone of proximal development. Okay? So there is assistance given by the teacher to the learners. For example, our primary learners, of course, at that level, our elementary, they really need guidance from our teacher. So that is scaffolding. Okay, 46. Teacher H and teacher I are rivals for promotion. We are now in the teaching profession, everyone. Okay, teacher profession, the teaching profession. To gain the favor of the promotional staff, teacher I offers her beach resort for free for members of the promotional staff before the ranking. As one of the contenders for promotion, is this becoming of her to do? A, yes, this will be professional growth for the promotional staff. B, no, this may exert undue influence over the members of the promotional staff, and so may fail to promote someone on the basis of merit. C, yes, the rare invitation will certainly be welcomed by an overworked promotional staff. Letter D, yes, there's nothing wrong with sharing. I'm sorry again. So item 46 is letter B. Okay. So of course, I would like to advise everyone here, if you want ourselves to be promoted, it should be fair. Okay? There should not be like this in this kind of situation. It's more, shall we say, it's more acceptable that we are promoted because we deserve such promotion. We have not done anything wrong in terms of our promotion. Okay, we are promoted based on merit. So I would like to encourage everyone that we should not do negative or bad things such as like this one, under the table, something like that. So we should not do that. So we have to be fair in order that, okay, the God is watching us, fairness in promotion. Okay, that is item number 46. Item number 47. In a study conducted, the pupils were asked which nationality they preferred if given a chance. Majority of the pupils wanted to be Americans. In this case, in which obligation relative to the state do schools seem to be failing? In their obligation to blank. Based on the situation, the pupils wanted to be Americans, but they are Filipinos. So in this case, in which obligation relative to the state do schools seem to be failing? Okay? How come they wanted to be Americans if they are Filipinos? So the answer for 47 is all right. Keep going. 47. B. The field what? Correct. Promote national pride. Okay. So they failed to inculcate to the learners, okay, the promotion of national pride, our identity as Filipinos, that being Filipinos, we should be proud of. Okay, but in that situation, they failed to inculcate that promotion of national pride and identity. Correct, letter B. 48. In what way can teachers uphold the highest possible standards of quality education? A. By continually improving themselves personally and professionally, by wearing expensive clothes to change people's poor perception of teachers. C. By working out and deserve promotions. Letter D. By putting down other professions to lift the status of teaching. So in item number 48, what is our answer? Okay, the answer is letter A. By continually improving themselves personally and professionally. But the question is how? How are we going to continue improving ourselves? It's through studying our masters, no, studying our graduate studies. After studying our undergraduate, proceed to your masters, because in the new merit selection plan, the guidelines, if you don't have masters, you are zero in education. At least you have units in your masters so that you have scores when you would like to apply in depth ed. In that way, aside from your masters, when you are in the field, when you're in depth ed, you continue join seminars and trainings like inset, in-service trainings, and whatever activities sponsored by the Department of Education. In that way, we produce quality teaching through us, and that we produce quality learners. 49. If you agree with Rizal on how you can contribute to our nation's redemption, which should you work for? A. Opening our doors to foreign influence. B. Upgrading the quality of the Filipino through education. C. Stabilizing the political situation. Letter D. Gaining economic recovery. Number 49, what is your answer? If you want to redeem our nation from the clutch of poverty, from the root of poverty, what should we do? Correct. 49. Upgrading the quality of the Filipino through education. Of course, our Department of Education has been doing seminars and training for us teachers in order to upgrade the quality of teachers, because I believe if we have quality teachers, we can produce quality learners. Okay, so we have to upgrade ourselves, attending seminars and training professionally, and then of course our graduate studies, master's and then doctoral level. Okay, it is not letter A because it's national identity. It's not also letter C, and it's not also letter D. It's upgrading the quality of the Filipino through education. 50. History books used in schools are replete with events portraying the fates and weaknesses of the Filipino as a people. There are No, there are historical events that we have these defeats and weaknesses. But how should you tackle them in the classroom? A, present them and express their feelings of shame. B, present facts and use them as means in inspiring your class to learn from them. C, present them and blame those people responsible or those who have contributed. Letter D, present them as they are presented and tell the class to accept reality. Item number 50. If the historical events are talking about defeats and weaknesses, as teachers, as social studies teacher, how should we tackle them in the classroom? Okay, the answer is letter B. Correct. You are going to present the facts, the real happenings in the past. And based on those happenings in the past, we're going to learn from them and we're going to teach them that this would lead, this would be our basis, no? That we should not do the same, that the history should not be repeated in the next generation to come or in the future or in the present. Okay, we have to learn from them. So as teachers, we have to inculcate, okay, that an inspiration, that a learning from us based on the fact presented. So that is item number 50. Item number 51. There are indications that Rose is an autistic child. There are manifestations. What should Mrs. Cruz, her teacher, do to help her? A, recommend a tutor for China. I'm sorry, it's not. I forgot to edit. It should be Rose, not China. B, tell her parents to transfer her to another school. C, ask Rose to stay and give her extra care and attention. D, advise her parents to take her to a specialist for diagnosis. What is your answer for item 51? It's not China, it's Rose. Okay. There are manifestations. What should you do to help her? The answer is letter D. Advise her parents to take her to a specialist for diagnosis. Okay? Why? Remember, in inclusive education, okay? So, advise her parents to take her to specialists for diagnosis. And then, of course, after the diagnosis, of course, as teachers, you should ask the parents about the diagnosis regarding the condition of your student who is an autistic child. Okay? Proceed to 51. Miss Abelardo has been having discipline and management problems in her English class. What question tip may sustain the students' attention? If you are Miss Abelardo, what would you do in order that there will be a meaningful engagement in your class? A, ask questions that contribute to continuous learning. B, ask questions that are memory testing. Or C, ask questions that are stimulating. Or D, ask questions that are sequential. What is your answer for 52? Okay, letter C. It is not letter A. Ask questions that are stimulating. When it's stimulating, it arouses the interest of the learners to learn in your English class. Okay? Make sure engaging, stimulating, the questions are interesting so that there will be engagement, more engagement in your English class. Okay, you might be confused in letter A also, continuous learning. Okay, but the questions that contribute to continuous learning, it might be that what kind of questions that will contribute to continuous learning is not specified. Okay, you might be continuing in your in your learning, I mean in the discussion, but what kind of question that you're giving. So the questions must be stimulating. So letter C. 53. For quite some time, Lizelle habitually says no to work assigned to her by the teacher. Which of the following is a questionable technique in handling Lizelle who refuses schoolwork? You might encounter this situation in your field. Probably some of you here are really some of you are private teachers. So what would you do? A, focus on situations where the pupil shows an interest. Treat all pupils who refuse to any work equally. C, reduce criteria for the correctness of a task. Or D, immediately confront the pupil concerned. What is the answer for letter A? 53 is letter A. Correct. You got it right. So if we notice that some our students are not interested, because in reality, as also when I observe classes with my teacher, so I really also noticed that some learners are not paying attention. So as teachers, you have to know how to divert their attention, focus on where you can get their interest, so that teaching and learning is more enjoyable and meaningful for them. So for that item, focus in situations where the pupil shows an interest. With that, learning is very fun and engaging. 54. Ms. Rivera is busy developing a cluster of concepts on matter. She notices Dave busily making several paper airplanes. Which of the following is the best way of handling Dave's misbehavior? You might have students who are like this, no? Doing things which are not related to your discussion. What would you do? How would you able to handle such misbehavior? For example, Dave's misbehavior. A, continue teaching but make your way to Dave without a word. Place a ready note card. It seems you are disturbing the class. Please stop right now. Return card after class. Or stop the less. Tell the class to look at Dave and observe what he's doing. Let them comment on what they observe. See, call Dave. Sorry. Call Dave to bring all the paper airplanes and ask him to discuss the importance of airplanes in the modern age. And D, ask difficult questions and call Dave to answer them. Okay, as you have seen a while ago, that so the best way of handling Dave's misbehavior is letter C. Okay, you should not do letter A, letter B, and letter C because you are punishing Dave. You are not diverting Dave to focus on the class. Okay? So instead of punishing Dave, you should do letter C. So since Dave is busy making several paper airplanes, so use that in relation to your class. Okay? And since it's science, Miss Rivera is a science teacher. So you're gonna, ask Dave about the airplane and ask him to discuss the importance of airplanes in the modern age. Something like that. But do not punish. Okay? So that Dave will not also be insulted. And of course, Our learners are very sensitive. 55. Mrs. Estrada prefers to use low-profile classroom control like eye contact and hand gesture to high-profile like stop walking around, settle down, and get to work. Which of the following justifies Mrs. Estrada's action? A, low-profile form of control is simple and time-saving. Low-profile form of control minimizes teachers' visibility. Low-profile form of control is not from directs attention of the class to target pupils. Low-profile form of control has low probability of its distracting other members of the class. Okay, there are two, high profile and low profile. When we say high profile, okay, the answer for 55 is letter D. Okay, when talk about high profile, is you are saying stop walking around, there is a voice change of your, okay, you verbally reprimand, settle down and get to work. It's high profile, but more appropriate is the low profile because that low profile form has low probability of it distracting other members of the class. Okay, you can proxemics, haptics, that means we see proxemics, you can go nearer to that bata, and then haptics touch, okay, if those learners are not paying attention, but do not use high profiles because it really distracts the class. 56. Mrs. Cortez is bothered by many pupils who are off task during her demonstration of a science process. Which of the following intervention is most effective? A, eye contact. B, touch or gesture. C, asking and answer. Or D, questioning consistently. What would you do if you have noticed that your learners or pupils are off task during your demonstration? What would you do for item 56? Marijo answered D. How about the others? Keep going for item 56. Mayan, if I'm correct. Jovi A, Jelly, Zaniga D, Genevieve Reyes C, Lori V, Sagulay Cadiz D, Marilyn D, Azilne. The answer is letter D. In order that they will be diverted to your demonstration, you ask questions consistently. Okay, so if eye contact only, still task or gesture, still asking and answer, no. But if you keep on questioning based on what you demonstrated, eventually they will be diverted and they will be back on your discussion. So use this letter D, questioning consistently. Item 57. Mrs. Santillan has caught several students picking at their notebook during an examination. What should be the initial action on her part? A, confirm the dishonesty and send the pupils caught cheating to the principal's office. B, call class attention to the cheating committed by pupils. C, announce disapproval of the pupils' behavior. Letter D, take the pleasure of the pupils. What is your answer for item 57? Please comment down your answer, everyone. What would you do for item 57? Is it letter A? Is it letter A? Would you send automatically to the principal's office? No. The answer, letter C. Very good, Mary Jo and Izelne Butil. You should not immediately send the pupils to the principal's office. As principal, advisor, or teacher must solve everything within your means. If you cannot solve them, then that's the time you ask the help of the principal. But here in this situation, you announce the disapproval of the pupil's behavior. Okay, you would say, oh, okay, I I have caught cheating or picking the notebook. And then if you announce, eventually your learners will not do that again. Okay, so you announce, you would say, I have noticed that some of you here are picking at the notebook during the exam. And if they heard that coming from you, eventually the learners will not do that again. 58. Pauline, in spite of her IQ, has been getting low grades and performing poorly in almost all the academic subjects. Her father went to see her teacher. What is the best way to manage the situation? A. Tell Pauline's father a solution by which she can be helped to improve her performance. B. Tell Pauline's father that she should complain because you computed her grades objectively. C. Direct Pauline's father to complain to the principal. Letter D. Advise Pauline's father to get a tutor for her. Item 58. How, as a teacher, what is the best way to manage the situation? Is it letter D? You advise Pauline's father to get a tutor for her. Is it letter A? The answer is, of course, letter A. Tell Pauline's father a solution based on her academic status. This, in spite of her IQ, but she has been getting low grades. So you would really give a solution to her father and what to do for the next time so that her academic subject, her grades will be higher now. Okay, so where she can be helped to improve her performance. Okay, so we have to help. Okay, we have to help. 59. At the end of the periodical examination, Mrs. Gonzalez administered a summative test in Filipino. After scoring the test paper, she assigned grades to each test courses, 95, 90, 85, etc. What process did Mrs. Gonzalez use? Based on our previous discussion, if I say giving of numbers, giving of figures, what process is that? A, ranking. B, measurement. C, computation. D, evaluation. If we can still recall from our previous discussion about that, if we give numbers, quantitative, how much? All right, thank you. You got it right. That is measurement. Okay, when we assign grades to each test score to a certain learning area, that is measurement. And if we give value out of the score, we judge it, and that is evaluation. But the process of getting scores, that is assessment, and the instrument, the method you use is test. Okay, very good. You got it right, letter B. Item number 60. The graduating students need information regarding future occupation where they will most likely succeed. What kind of test will be guidance counselor administer? So, career guidance, no, future occupation, career guidance of our grade 12 graduating students. A, survey. B, achievement. C, aptitude. Or D, attitude test. Very good. You got it right. Ruchel C, Marie Angeline, F, Jean C. Keep going, everyone. I am here looking your responses through my phone. The answer is, of course, when we talk about future occupations, we are doing aptitude tests. Okay, so aptitude tests for future occupations. You have to remember that. 61. What is the first and perhaps the most important step which a teacher should take in constructing a task? A, know the objectives. B, look over the old task questions. C, prepare the table of specification. Or D, write the preliminary draft of the task. Before you conduct or construct a task, what should you do first? The first and perhaps the most important step. Keep going, everyone. Would you automatically prepare a table of specifications? The revised Bloom taxonomy? Is it the one? Huh? The answer is letter A. It's not letter C. You have to know first the objectives before constructing a test. That is the standard. It's not letter C. Okay. After you know the objectives, and then that's the time you're gonna prepare the table of specifications. The objectives, the learning competencies, you should know first them, okay, before making the table of specifications, and of course constructing a test. 62, which is not an example of research. 62, which is not an example of research. A, preparation of a project report in science. B, a survey of the survey habits of BE Ed freshman students. C, development and validation of learning modules on statistics. D, a study of the effects of the level of aspiration and achievement of prospective teachers. Which is not an example of research. Please comment your answer in our comment section, everyone. Item 62. Okay, you got it right. Letter A is not a research. When we say research, it is a complex process. Okay, so you should know that. No, when you do survey, when we analyze things, that is research. But 62, letter A is not a research. Okay, that is only a project report. Okay. 63, a teacher researcher wanted to know the attitude of college students toward the school uniform. She stood by the canteen door at lunchtime and asked every fifth student who came for lunch, what sample did she use? A, biased, B, fixed sample, C, a random sample, or D, an even sample. What is your answer for 63? Please chat your answer. Please indicate the number. Okay. If you want to ask students about their attitude to the school uniform, and the teacher researcher stood by the canteen and asked every fifth who came for lunch, what sample did she use? Okay, if we are researchers, we are using random sample. Correct. Why? Random sample because every fifth student. Okay, every fifth student. You are randomly selecting every fifth as your respondents of your study because you wanted to know the attitude of college students toward the school uniform. So that is item 63. 64. Why school guidance be an integral part, is not party, I'm sorry, integral part of the school program? A, learners are confronted with present day realities and challenges which they themselves cannot handle. Again, learners are not and confronted with present-day realities and challenges which they themselves cannot handle. B, learners need to be guided so that they may become useful members of the society. C, learners need to help in their personal and academic problems. Letter D, learners are still young to be left to themselves. What is the answer? The answer is correct. Letter B. Learners need to be guided so that they may become useful members of the society. That is why, as a guidance counselor, you have to make sure that you create activities which they can be able to know themselves better. What are their roles in the society, and how can they be able to contribute something for the society? And that is a guidance program. Okay, so that is item 64. Being part of the total guidance program, the first task of the classroom teacher is to A, exemplify a high level of personal adjustment and self-actualization. B, foster the development of positive attitudes. C, know and understand the student. Or D, be warm to each other. What is the first task of the classroom teacher? What is your answer for 65? Your first task. The answer is letter C. Know and understand the student. That should be the first step that a classroom teacher should do first. Why? Because you cannot do letter A, letter B, and letter D if you don't know your learners. You don't know and you don't understand them. You don't know, and of course, technically, you cannot understand them. So you cannot do letter A, letter B, and letter D. The first is to know and understand your students. Okay? Know who they are, their background, their socioeconomic status, their stories, because they have also stories to tell. In that way, you're going to know, you'll be guided on what are the things to be done for them, for the guidance program. 66. Miss Rivella, a classroom teacher, is aware that she is also expected to perform guidance function. She has been helping her pupils in their personal and academic problems. What must do if there are cases which she finds difficulty to handle? A, refer them to the guidance counselor who has the professional competence to handle such cases. B, try to solve them. There are practical solutions to every problem. C, bring them to the attention of the school principal. Or D, make referrals to outside agencies. Item 66, if you cannot handle cases, you find them difficult, what would you do? Item 66, please comment your answers, please. A, letter A, Jelly, letter A, Marilyn, Antonio, letter A, Origin, letter A, Jenny Carr, letter A, Marijo, letter B. The answer is letter A. Okay. Again, teacher, if you cannot handle such guidance function, you give that to guidance counselor. Do not immediately bring them to the attention of the school principal. There is a protocol for that to be followed. Okay. Letter B is wrong. How can you solve them if the question is, there are cases which it finds difficulty to handle? Of course, you should not make referrals to outside agencies. Solve within the school. Okay? 67. At the beginning of the school year, Miss Nina wants to acquaint herself with the personal background of her grade 6 pupils, particularly their needs, interests, and characteristics. What is the most practical thing that she must do? A, give them a series of psychological tests. B, ask them to fill up personal data sheets. C, send a questionnaire to their parents, or letter D, interview them one by one. What is the answer for 67? If you want to know their needs, interests, and characteristics, comment to your answers. Okay, it's very obvious. You asked them to fill out personal data sheets. Correct. Letter B. Okay, 68. Charlene, a graduating high school student, is confused about what course to take in college. She seems to be torn between teaching and accountancy. How would you help her? A, persuade her to follow your footsteps as a teacher. B, tell her to heed the advice of her parent. C, refer her to a college guidance counselor. Or D, ask her to take an aptitude test. What is 68? Occupations, future occupations. The answer is ask her to take an aptitude test. If we talk about occupations, career occupations, it is always aptitude test. Remember that. 69. Valerie's parents oftentimes complains about her low grades in the report card. Despite the explanations of her teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Carreño insist that Valeria deserves higher ratings. What is the proper thing for her teacher to do? A, change Valerie's grade to please her parents. B, request the principal to talk with Valerie's parents. C, show to the parents the actual computation of Valerie's grade. Or D, ignore Valerie's parents. They would not listen to explanation anyway. They would not listen to explanations anyway. The answer for 69 is, keep going everyone, letter C. Letter C. I see letter C answer. Okay, the answer is letter C. Show to the parents the actual computation of Valerie's grade. All right. Proceed to number 70. As a teacher, which of the following actions would you judge as an unprofessional? A, engaging in gainful employment. B, seeking position known to be vacant. C, giving due notice in case of absence. Letter D, taking professional matter directly to the highest authority. Now, we have to be very careful in this situation because some teachers are doing this, automatically doing this. What is your answer in letter number 70? Okay, so 70. Okay, taking professional matter directly to the highest authority. We should not do that. If we have problems, if we have concerns, we have our school heads who can help us, no? Do not directly raise that into the highest authority. We have protocol to follow, ladies and gentlemen. No, whether in private or public schools, we have to do that. There should be a protocol for that. Okay? Respecting the positions of our immediate superiors. 71. In education, as agent of modernization, the curriculum tends to focus on well-defined orientation. In these sociological views, which describes best the curriculum. Take note on item 71. In education as agent of modernization, the curriculum tends to focus on well-defined orientation. So A, future-oriented. B, past-oriented. C, present-oriented. Or D, tradition-oriented. What is the answer for 71? Keep going, everyone. Is it tradition? Is it present-oriented? We're talking here at agent of modernization. The answer is education, the curriculum must be future-oriented. Why? Because we want that our learners in the future will be equipped to face them on what? On their future careers. That is why our curriculum must be future-oriented. We are preparing our learners to be, okay? So it should be future-oriented, okay? We are preparing them in their future career, okay? So it should be letter A. The curriculum must be future-oriented, okay? That's why our DepEd is visionary. We have vision. 72. The function of schooling is determined largely by the generally accepted social conception of education. What is the function of the curriculum in a school that regards education as a cultural transmission? There are diverse cultures in our education system. And of course, in a school setting, there are also cultural differences. How can we able to disregard social discrimination, cultural discrimination? A, remove social status stratification, break boundaries between social classes, unify the elements of various social classes, or D, maintain boundaries of structure between social classes. Okay? Keep going your answers for 72. We're almost done, everyone. The answer is correct. You got it right. Letter C. Unify the elements of various social classes. Okay? 73. Teacher Cleo observed that the preschool children have generally short attention and interest span. What kind of class activities should select for them? A, short, varied, and interesting. B, challenging and interesting. C, both easy and difficult. Or D, long but interesting. What is your answer for 73? You have noticed that your learners have short attention and interest span. What would you do in order to make it more interesting? And of course, their attention must not be shorter. The answer is letter 73. Keep going. Shalamar, letter B. Jelly, letter A. Short, varied, and interesting. Is it letter A, everyone? 73. The answer is letter B. In order that the interest is really keep going, it should be, the activities should be challenging and interesting. Once it is challenging, it will really arouse and it gets the attention of our learners. And of course, it's interesting and engaging. So we should do that. Teachers, challenging and interesting activities. 74. Dewey's philosophy stresses the development of an individual capable of reflective thinking, specifically that of being able to solve the problem he faces individually or collectively. This is A, rationalism, B, experimentation, C, developmentalism, or D, disciplinism. Okay? If you want to develop the reflective thinking of our learners under Dewey's philosophy, solve problem. What is this? A, rationalism, B, experimentation, C, developmentalism, or the disciplinism. And remember, the answer is experimentation. Okay? Pragmatism or experimentalism. When I say pragmatism or experimentalism, the proponent is John Dewey. Example is laboratory, experiment, project-based, wherein you are developing the reflective thinking and solving problem skills of our learners. Okay? It is experimentation, laboratory experiment through science laboratories, solving problems that would really arouse the interest and more engaging, of course, developing the critical, the reflective thinking through solving problems, the problems, solving problem skills of our John Dewey, proponent of pragmatism or experimentalism. Last number, everyone, because it's already 9. Much of today's classroom practices are influenced by Skinner's operant conditioning, which stresses on A, involuntary response to stimulus, B, progression of subordinate learning, C, connection between stimulus and response, or D, reinforcement of correct response. Operant conditioning, we have here reward and punishment. So what is the answer for 75? Letter D, letter C, letter C. Operant conditioning. The answer here is, keep going, A. You have varied answers. May and, all right. Letter D, reinforcement of correct response. Correct response, punishment if negative, but positive reinforcement, you do reward. That is reward. That is operant conditioning of B.F. Skinner. And everyone, that concludes my session for 3 hours tonight. I hope that I share inputs for the two Gen Ed, Purposive, and professional educations. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Dr. Axel Cortez. Doc, I'm done, Doc, with my session. It's 9 o'clock already. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your comment. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would like to leave you tips, no, in answering board exam. So just read and understand the questions, and from the questions you're going to determine keywords or context clues that would lead you to the choices, which among them would really consider the best answer. You are going to delete distractors or choices which are irrelevant to the question, and you have 2 remaining choices, and out of the 2 you choose one between them. So it's a matter of really good comprehension because it's multiple choices. So comprehension is the key, no? Comprehension is the key for this one. So we have to practice ourselves, review more, no? Review more on Prof Ed, Gen Ed, and your major. And with LCTC, we are here to help you, to guide you until your exam month, September. Okay, so yes, and yeah, okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your chat. Thank you, and I hope that we are productive tonight for the 3 hours that we are together. I'm sorry that my video is not that clear because it's not that the lighting is not good because I'm not at home. I am here at a certain library in Bugo. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope that we are good and we can still have this online review in the future and with the different topics that I'll be discussing with you, helping you and manifesting that all of you will really become professional teachers. And once I said it, we will pray for it and we will work together for you. And of course, LCTC is with you all the time. So just trust LCTC for this undertaking. All right. Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much.